I'm gonna get back to that story, Sonny. Just, just you listen to Boomer Great One. He's gonna tell you about how it was back in the olden days, back before fire, back when we walked uphill for everything. In fact, we didn't even have a concept of downhill because there was no downhill. Everything was uphill. We thought that was normal. We didn't even have a word for it because there was no alternative. It was uphill all the time. You just need to reach down and grab yourselves by your bootstraps and pull yourselves up, Sonny. Because when I was your age, I bought a house for $25,000. And I made that money on my paper route and bussing tables at the local cafe. And if I could do it, you can do it too. You just need to reach down and pull yourself up and just buckle up there, buckaroo. God, I hate boomers.
Let me help you young men tremendously. I've been meaning to talk about this. The day's never perfect. You know how it's going to be. And I'm going to have dinner here pretty soon because my woman's going to cook me dinner. But this is very important. It's a nice epiphany I had. I especially noticed it when one of my little nieces started crying for some dumb bullshit reason. And kind of like the figure, that's just knock it off. Knock it. The thing didn't slightly go your way. It went like 98% your way, and now you're gonna no. Knock it off. Okay. But that's a little 3-year-old kid. And what I was at the time, and what I realized, I went back and said, why is it so frustrating arguing with women back in the day, whether you have a legitimate or real concern or issue, whatever it may be, and you bring it up with your gal, or an event some happens where there really just needs to be a discussion, and you're already wincing or you're already apprehensive because you know if you bring this up, it's going to cause her discomfort. And as the great one says, no girl shall ever suffer discomfort in North America. I don't know what it probably in the genetics of the biology there somewhere deep within your own genetics. You just wincing in pain that she's going to cry. Or there's a serious discussion to be had. And then she starts to cry. And we're not talking a 3-year-old anymore. We're talking a 23-year-old or a 33-year-old or a 43-year-old. I'll have to ask the men who are older, do the women ever stop crying? And I remember when I didn't have the time for the bullshit. I had dated enough lying BPD, whatever girls, where I just like, no, my concerns are sincere and legitimate. I don't give a shit if she cries. But these things need to be addressed. And then I finally figured it out. Because right now, every man pretty much alive today operates from the premise that if the girl cries, there's something wrong or you did something wrong. Let me pose to you, let me tender an alternative theory. And that is one of facing reality. All right. Tell me if this doesn't describe your arguments. My philosophy or theory is that men are a go-between between the harsh realities of nature and women. We go fight the wars, we go plow the fields, we do whatever like that. And if the girl's crying, oh shit, there must be something wrong, attacker, invader. Well, though that may be in the days past. But in being that intermediary, being that shield from reality and women, yes, you've carved out a reality. Yes, you've paid for food, clothes. Yes, you provide for the family. You bring home the bacon. You defend. But you also shield them from some pretty horrific shit. And certainly in the olden days, the horrific shit was there. Pestilence, plague, war. We don't really have it that much. And now it's just mere inconveniences. And after a while, especially particularly inculcated, inoculated, shielded from it, it becomes hard. You have to answer to reality. The budget must be paid. The bills must be paid. We need to make money. I'll give you a classic example. You work too much. The fuck he does, he's trying to carve a reality out of life so that he could support everybody or himself and you and whatever else. It's like, but you can go. Do you want to go work? Do you want to go do this? Because I know I have to make up for lost time and a pretty much failed financial career. I got people, oh, you work a little bit too. I will punch you in your fucking face if you say that again. I'm sorry, were you going to give me $250,000 just so I might have a topped up retirement plan? You now, well, then shut the fuck up. But that didn't prevent even girls in my past. You work too much. I'm sorry, was your dad going to give me money so I might be able to eat some food too? That shit. And what I have found is that when you try, you're trying to negotiate between reality and the girl, and something happens in reality, like, hey, the client didn't come through, the contract didn't come through, we got to scale down the house, or something related to finance we have to do without the thing that we've done before. Another reality, you've gained weight. I don't find you physically attractive. I don't want to fuck you no more. Anything that disturbs that idyllic, halcyon, uninterrupted, perfect mental state. And if you say, hey, and you got to do something about it, or hey, it's your fault, they cry. And what I've found is, okay, different types of crying. Little kid crying, fine. Stub your toe, little kid crying, yeah. Your dad dies or your dog dies, everyone's going to cry for that. What I've found outside of real reasons to cry, when the majority of the instances, when it came to negotiations, arguments, or discussion with the girls I was dating, they cried because they had to face reality. They cried because they're trying to get away with something, not even a malicious sense. It was like, haha, this is my plot, this is my scheme. But whatever, not hitting the gym, not staying physically attractive, spending too much money, having ridiculous expectations of the house they could, you know, something to do with the degrees and worthless jobs. And then the husband's like, hey, I'm not bailing you out. They're crying. It's not necessarily because they're emotional. That's not it. I'd say it's one that they now realize what they had is no longer sustainable or is under threat. And here's the key thing, the crying is a cry for help. The crying is to get you to emotionally acquiesce, like, okay, dear, it's all right. Just stop crying. Kind of like the kid, shut up and let me get some sleep. Here's your fucking ice cream already. It is I bet you it's even unconscious. It's an irrational scream for help, like, oh my God, I have to have responsibility for whatever it is, the reality. There's a responsibility that reality has now forced upon me, and you're not going to shield me from it, or you're telling me that you can't do it no more because of whatever economic limitations, financial limitations, physical limitations, bad luck. And the crying is an appeal to men's emotions to throw fucking reality, the reality you're fucking dealing with, out the window, and I don't know, make it all better. You provide the solution. You don't want her to cry, do you? And when I looked at it through that viewpoint, where it's like, when you bring up the vast majority of arguments, unless you're a dick, now there's a huge assumption here that you men are being intellectually honest men, carrying your weight and all that. But outside of those instances where, you know, you're not a dirtbag or you're intellectually dishonest, when you have these discussions, you are being logical. You don't have these issues or concerns out of nowhere. They're not irrational. Sometimes it's I lost my job, or more so like in my case, when I was young, I need to eat. Were you going to give me? You weren't going to give me the money. Okay, well then I need to eat. I will see you once a week. That was the relationship. I think even maybe once every 10 days. And then the crying is an appeal to get you to abandon your original request or your original point, your original concern, and then also be responsible for it, or just suffer your whatever the request was that you say, "Hey, can you take this on? Can you do this thing?" That's where the crying comes in. And when I realized that this is what it was, where all of a sudden, for whatever reason, you were either asking the girl to take on some responsibility, or there's some bad, unfortunate news that affects you both. The crying is almost it's an unconscious yet cowardly and hypocritical act. Crying doesn't solve nothing. Little kid cries and whine. Why does they stop whining? Because the kid is whining ultimately because the kid wants you to solve the problem, right? How the fuck? I don't care if you add 25 years to the gal and she's an adult woman. If you're crying, and this is where I have the policy, I don't tolerate crying in my relationships. Not at all. We are adults. Use your fucking words. There is no reason today, unless, of course, your dog dies, something really tragic happens, there's a disease, loss of family, or you really injure yourself, it hurts a lot. I can understand the crying then. But I'm trying to look back into my adult dating life. Was there ever an instance where the girl was crying and it was rational? Or was I somehow being asked to work more or work less, but forfeit the money because somebody wasn't happy? Or one guy, even she didn't cry. Well, maybe she did later, but she's like, "Well, are we ever going to go out?" I'm like, "Well, I would if you lost weight." And I put it more polite in that she would never call me again. Probably cried. When I looked at it, and then you get into these arguments like, "Hey, stop being this pain in the ass. Stop doing this." Da 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 da. Crying, always crying, and then you get into this real world because when you're arguing, they want to get you into emotions because that can't be argued. And that's why, man, you gotta be a Vulcan. You gotta be Spock when you're going in. That's irrational. No, we're not doing that. That word said, and you gotta hold them to the words. Is that what you said that, right? No, no, no. We're going back now. And I've had it where like I don't tolerate crying in my relationships. You know what? Works great. It just works great. I'm like, no, you're a big girl. You put on your big girl panties. There should be, if you are with a mature, responsible adult, male or female, there should be no crying. What do you want? I had my girlfriend come in a little, hey, we don't do that here. Literally said, we don't do that here. What is it? What's the problem? I can't remember what it was. And it is fascinating. I mean, it's in there. It's hardwired. This is why I don't think it's necessarily conscious or malicious, but it's there and it will happen. And once you point that out, we're adults. We will have a conversation. There will be no crying. And if you do cry, it's over. There's the fucking door. Because crying ultimately is for little children who want somebody else to solve their problem. And once I got this viewpoint of crying from adult women, I'm like, no, it will, not injured or crisis or anything like that. It's amazing how much less bullshit they try to get away with. I think that actually the fake crying, there's that video of the gal who does the fake crying and, oh yeah, girls could cry. You never, like, if you're dating a little bit, looks like this might go somewhere. You got to have the serious talks about policies like, do you want to get married? Do you want to have kids? You should. Absolutely. I do not cry. I do not tolerate crying in my relationships. None. If you have an issue, you will bring it up to me as an adult using adult English words, using the words as they are intended. No double meaning, no question me 3 times, no amorphous. You will use words clearly and honestly. And man, it's kind of nice having no crying in your relationship. It's nice. And they know not to do it. That's the thing that I was like, oh, when I've handful of times had the conversation, they don't cry. Now maybe I statistically got lucky and dated mature gals, but you don't have to tolerate crying in your relationship. Not at all. And that kinda it sends a real clear shot across the bow, like, you're not gonna be able to use sophistry or gray words or emotion. You will be an adult, you will mean what you say, will say what you mean, and we will have a conversation about it that is no need for crying, no need for even anger or upsetness. What is it? Things aren't perfect, what's going on? Man, had I known this when I was 20. Oh, got food? All right, stop crying then. So there you go. Let's go quickly through the super chats. Don't save your super chats for later. I gotta have dinner here. Bob, $5. You should do a review about the communal school supply of elementary school in elementary school. I understand why you didn't want a kid, Cappy. Communal school supply. What are you talking about, Bob? School's just horrible. School is for children whose parents don't love them. Very simply. Dre, $2. Genghis Khan, Ike Turner, and Diddy agrees with Cappy. Dre, $2. Cappy, she's crying, she's lying, or hiding. Hey, if it's not, again, I don't believe it's conscious. Sometimes it is, though. Sometimes it is. It usually means, oh shit, I'm going to be tasked with responsibility now. My perfect mental state is ruined. It's going to require work in the future from me, or I'm going to lose the thing. I can't have my cake and eat it too. I'm going to cry to make them give up their position so that the pain goes away for them. That right there is the cowardice and the hypocrisy. And it's unconscious at the same time too, sometimes I'd imagine. Universal coordinate 15 Australian. A lot of times crying is an emotional response for women who have borderline personality disorder. It's also known as emotional dysregulation disorder. I don't give a fuck what they call it. I don't believe in this borderline personality disorder bullshit. It's a disorder for assholes to keep treating people like shit. That's all I found out with the BT to the cluster, the B cluster or whatever that cluster is. I'm like, oh, that just sounds like evil people looking for an excuse to treat people like shit. Like schizophrenia? Yeah, I believe in that. Yeah. Is there an actual bipolar disorder? Sure, I'm sure some people actually suffer for it. The 98% of them are just assholes faking it so they have plausible deniability. But I don't care if you're bipolar or not. Are you crying? Bye-bye. Baba. Nonstop Dre, $2. Department of Homeland Security. Cappy approves of abusing and neglecting women. No, I do not. No, I do not. Nowhere to. I say you just leave. You remove yourself from the situation. You say, I don't tolerate crying in my relationships. You will knock that off immediately. You will never do it. Some guy, $1, thank you. Mazatol, $5. Fuck, assaulted this way thrice in my life. Thrice, that's it? That's all you got? Man, I'm thinking it's less than 10% of the gals I dated didn't fucking cry for some damn reason or another. Assaulted this way thrice in my life, weeping and wailing. To my soul, it sounded like a metal gauntlet scraped across the chalkboard. Usually it was in my day, like, why are you doing this really unacceptable behavior? Can you please knock that off? And then it was like one gal got upset because I think it was like, yeah, you're not going out with that guy. I really don't like it when you're going out with that guy. And I was dumb and stupid. What? The one gal, because I didn't get her a soda or offered to buy her something at the gas station, she started crying like, oh, fuck off. No. That should be a big ass red flag for Rich Cooper is added to the big, one of the big flags should be crying. I don't care about what. You're crying? No. Okay, apparently you're not an adult. You can't handle this shit. Did your dad die? No. Did your dog get hit by a truck? No. Why the fuck are you crying? JJGS to Canadian, away with words. If you lose weight, Riz. No, it's not. I don't, and you don't beat around the bush either. Getting a little fat? I will leave you. I will find another girl. Ruben Taigo, 50 Norwegian kroners. Should I become a residential floor installer considering the current future state of the housing market, viable path for the next 20 years? I don't know. In Norway, that depends. I don't know anything about the Nordic housing market, but if you're here in the States, I think kind of any Um, any tradesman of any kind associated with carpentry would be fine. Floor installer, that's not one I've ever thought about. I haven't done the research. It's better than a journalism degree, but I think people's water heaters and plumbing and floors kind of stick around for a while, don't they? I mean, floors are one of the things like, it's not crumbling. Like if you knew how to do carpets, so the line doesn't show. I mean, yeah, there's demand for it, but I don't know. One, if you're in Norway, or two, if it's out here. Dre, $2. You, tears in private are real, but in public fake. No, just tears in general are generally fake. Tears are, there better be a here's the rule. If there's not a corpse or there ain't blood gushing out somewhere or a badass stub toe, like if you step on a Lego barefoot, you have every right to cry. Every right to cry. All right. So blood, a Lego, or a body, dog or human or otherwise. Otherwise, it's fake. Otherwise, it's nope. Reality caught up with you in some way. And now you want me to bail you out of it or have a double standard where it's okay for you to continue this behavior that I don't like. All right. Rubens USA. Yeah, I don't know. Go. I don't know. If you're going to go that far, why not HVAC? Why not? Okay, I guess you probably don't need a license to install flaws. You know what? Do it. Why not? It's not, you learn how to install floors. All right. Here, some people are helping out. Diego, many homes and apartments will need new flooring over the next 20 years. All right. Yeah, kids would also be see Zam, you're right about that. That's also where it's like, hey, we got to discipline the kids. And most parents, dads as well, mothers and fathers don't want to discipline their kids. You're like, you got to stop spoiling the kids. It means you got to tell them no, have hard conversations. I just, yeah. And then women cheating, they'll cry. You catch them. Trim carpenter is better. So you got that there. All right. Link below. The dad you never had. Both men and women should take it so you all stop being a bunch of crybabies. Right? There should be no reason. Let's stop with the crying now. We're adults. And then, what is it? The Book of Numbers analyzing RI and the pursuit of women. But more so, you young boys, ask the question, is she crying because I just introduced reality? And is she now asking me to somehow work harder to overcome the problem in reality or live a double standard? See, and then always watch how it goes down to emotional. You never argue emotion. It's always Vulcan. It's always logic. Well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but there you go. Doors over there. All right. Is that all? Let me double check, make sure I didn't miss any. Rashiel, $5. About your Warner Brothers game videos, I do not think that Mortal Kombat is a dead IP. All right, maybe it is. Maybe it's not. Maybe that someone will actually buy that. All right, we'll see you guys later. Toodles.